this is a year down the line. As I said, plenty of this deep osteolysis. You can't just cement and cement, you have to dig everything down. Again, osteotomy, reconstruction done, and this is a year down the line. Another example, excess cement of the femoral canal, reconstruction in a year down the line. Now, this was an interesting case I had when I first started. This patient had a rare hip replacement that was only done about 3 in the region, and this was the third one to fail when I first started. And it's called the RC120 hip. And the company doesn't exist anymore. There's no extraction devices. It's pretty well fixed into the wall. So I tried first to dig it up from the top, and it didn't happen. And there's very small sliver of one lateral, as you can see. So I had to do the osteotomy with this in situ. And then hours and hours later, I found this finally came out. But as I put back the osteotomy, I made a crack in it. But because I use hydroxyapatite coated proximal body, this is healed without a problem. Now we talk about 2 types of deformity. First one is excessive anterior femoral bone, and we can normally get around this because all the companies now have both distal stems that can cope with that. But sometimes if you don't have both the distal stem or the deformity severe, then we have to modify the HE board to adapt to that. So what you do, you take about 1/2 of the anterior or the lateral femur as it goes to 1/3, then you extend it 15 centimeters, it goes to 13 centimeters, and that usually corrects deformity. But we get more of these actually, and this is the various remodeling of the femur. But the problem is that if you want to plan reconstruction and go distal where the good bone is, then there's no way you can have any proximal femur around that. But by the time everything goes along in a straight line, you can't have any proximal femur around that. So this is when we do a modified ETS called step osteotomy. Essentially, take the initial osteotomy as far lateral as the apex or the varus deformity, and then you plan. When you've done everything, when the femoral component is in, you go an inch above that, and you put the saw down, and you crack the medial cortex, and then you wrap it around. And this is this patient. And this is how she's a year down the line. Now, this was the patient who had the most subsidence after this part of ETO. She subsided 22 millimeters because she wouldn't bother with the weight bearing protection. I actually saw her at 5 years now. She's limping, but she's been discharged. Another case of varus remodeling again. Step osteotomy, both sides. And this is a year down the line. And the third case of varus remodeling again. Osteotomy at the peak of the varus deformity. And then when everything's in, when the wires and cables are ready, put the oscillating saw down approximately 1 inch above the level of the lateral osteotomy, and then crank the femur, wrap everything around it. And that's the patient in the year down the line. Another good indication is in pericosilic fractures, and people are wary about adding another fracture to what's already a complicated situation. But it's incredibly difficult to get the component out, get the cement out from a very loose proximal tube of the femur like this one. So again, put the saw, take the lateral cortex out, take the component off, take the cement off, and then wrap everything around it, in this case, and this is a year down the line. So I said again, is there a way about adding another fracture line to what already is a complicated situation? This paper comes from Green Cawnpore again. There's 17 cases of B2 and 3 fractures, mean 2 years follow-up, all healed with an average of 13 weeks. They had 1 dislocation, 1 infection at 3 years, 3 subsidence, and they use fixation of cables. And back to Mount Sinai in Toronto again, Alan Gross in this group, 34 patients with a mean 5 years of follow-up. It healed in all patients. We use fixation with wires as opposed to cables, and they have 2 subsidence requiring revision, 1 dislocation and 1 infection. I found this paper as well from next door to us in Sheffield in Yorkshire. They've used it for primary extraction of implants and cement in 2-stage revisions in case of the infection. And they found that after 99 patients they had this for first stage. At the time of the second stage, 32 of them was managed with the standard femoral component as opposed to the revision components. What about our own results? These are 28 ETOs that we've done, all for aseptic loosening. average 4 years of follow-up. We have 4 patients who subsided 5 millimeters or more, and I showed you the maximal subsidence of 22 millimeters. We had 3 dislocations. One of them was the bicycle restraint cup. We had non-union, which is what you see on this X-ray, showing that having proximal femoral replacement later on. We had 3 infections. One of them revised into a long cemented stem with antibiotics loaded in. Our mean Oxford scores were 39.5. So in summary, it's an easy way into the femur. It's a part of the transcantheric approach and revision. It's a very useful tool in revision hip surgery. There's a wide range of indications, but you need to have protective rehab. Healing is usually good, and the results are encouraging. Thank you very much. We've used that, but there are other cases in which you don't have an isthmus, and in this case you need to go for a distal walking femoral stem.
Can you use semi?
Yes, you can, and I have done that. The worry is that the cement would leak into the osteotomy site. You can use it in elderly, frail people, and the whole construct with the cables and the cement seems to work, but you don't expect the longevity out of that. But in elderly, frail patients, it's a quick operation.
So in all these cases, would you prepare the distal segment separately and the proximal segment separately, or you close the osteotomy and then do a line?
So if you had cement in the proximal fragment, you would remove it because it's easily you can sew it, and you prepare the distal fragment separately. My advice, if you prepare the distal fragment with reamers to allow for your diaphyseal fit fragment, put either halos or a circular wire around the remaining shaft. I'm studying this now. That tremendously reduces the chance of cracking it. So we've done this. You need only a little preparation of the proximal fragment, because all what you need is to have enough space for the proximal part of your body of the stem to be closed up. And you can use this with a bird, you can use this with any reamer.
So would you close the osteotomy and then start reaming, or would you? That's the question.
So you prepare the distal fragment with reaming, and then you put your trial, and then when you put the trial, you close the osteotomy. You have a feeling how much space you need to do, how much bone you need to remove proximally, and you can do this with high-speed bird, and then keep trialing until you fit into the ear.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Samay. And Dr. Samay will be available again after lunch in the workshop, so you can really take full use of him. Friends, I'll invite Dr. Sanjay Agrawala now, who really needs now lots of persuasion to come. So he will talk to all of us with his experience. He will be talking how to troubleshoot our problems, and he will talk till he likes, till he thinks that he is hungry, till he thinks that we are hungry. So it's
or when I have to take my flight. So this was a great session. I think we saw some outstanding surgeons, and I am very pleased that we still have a great audience here. We have Dr. Gadre, who is thankfully come, and we have all these speakers in front of us who have done an incredible job. In fact, we will be hearing very soon after me Dr. Oberoi, who was talking about these few zips. These were really horrific cases that you guys showed. I mean, sense up my God, I mean, that kind of case, I would lose sleep for a couple of months before I decided to do it, but preferably I'd send it to Sen or someone else. So we're going to see some cases which you will see, and your thinking in this, which is, I wish that I am able to stimulate. So let's see these. So I think the computers here, and you will see these cases. And of course you will. You will see a case of prosciutto in this. And what are the learning objectives? So in each case, can we bring this down? Is it possible to bring the thingy down? Hello? Audio visual? So we think of anticipated problems. Do we need to do a adaptogenotomy? I mean, you saw a whole lot of these difficult cases. How do you dislocate the head? How do you ream the acetabulum and you lateralize the cup, and how do you do it? So let's check this out. So here we have a 62-year-old lady who's rheumatoid, and therefore, like Amal said, these are the kind of cases you get. Refusal, she's been getting pain. She's bedridden for the last 3 weeks. And obviously now when she's bedridden, she decides to come to us. And there's the X-ray. So there is shortening, 5 centimeters. Someone said that if you have 5 centimeters, you need to cut and osteotomize the subtrochanteric. Maybe, because otherwise you get sciatic palsy. True shortening is, however, only 2 centimeters. So we may be a little safe. There's a lot of adduction. Flexion is up to 90, but there's no FFD. So this patient is lying around. So how do you think you should proceed? So, Amal, you're yawning. You're a tired man or you're sleeping through my lecture? Okay, yes, come on. So what would you do? I mean, how would you decide to do this case? Professor, PhD में क्या करते हैं? देखो हाथ आगे कर रहे हो. यहाँ. अरे mic लाओ यार. Mic. So this is a rubbish case. I mean, suppose this was your first case that came to you, saying, "Can't I get a simpler case?" This happens to all of us. When we look at these cases, we reach us, "Hi, आपके पास आए हैं."
There are several issues. Limb length, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And the protrusio is the one that leads to very difficulty in dislocating the hip in this situation.
Correct.
So first of all, I will go a bit conservative and I will do an adductotomy before surgery, so that I can move my head as desired.
Little bit at side.
And I have a lateral approacher, hard hinge.
Okay.
And if I am difficult in dislocating, if I am not able to dislocate it, then I will be reaming over the osteotomized neck.
Okay, great. So I also do hard hinge approach all the time, except in these kind of cases where I think it's very difficult to really go in even after osteotomy. So I do posterior in these very odd cases. So I go posterior here. So you know, like we talked about this profusio, the limb length discrepancy, there's adduction deformity, and therefore, hey, come on, let's do the adductor tenotomy. Now when you do the tenotomy, you use what? You use a blade, scissor, what do you use?
I will just try to abduct and feel the tendons there, and I just cut them sufficiently and see that. Now my adduction is finished.
Bleeding hoti hai uske baad. Does it bleed? So I remember when I was in medical college, it used to bleed a lot. It used to bleed a lot when I was in medical college, and that's the way I was taught. You cut the whole thing. After time, I use a 15 number blade. So you feel that, like he said, you feel the tightness here, but you don't do the tenotomy here, you don't cut here. You go as high up as you can. As high up. You go onto the tendon. And when you cut on the tendon, you're able to get this, and I'll show you again in another case perhaps. So I take a posterior approach in these difficult cases because I get a little better exposure. 95% to 99% of my hips I do through the harding, and I've demonstrated it 2-3 times in this forum earlier. But in these cases I take a posterior because I think I can, just like Dr. Bose showed you, I go all around, go up to the top, put something over there, and then I am able to get access to the head neck. Now I have decided that I am not going to dislocate it. जैसे प्रोफेसर साहब ने कहा, यहाँ काट दिया पहले और यहीं पर हेड पड़ा है. So we've cut it. Now I have access to this area, and the head is lying inside. Once the head is lying inside, you are then able to ream on it till it becomes really tiny, and then you can deliver it. Or even if you don't ream on it, it is easier now to deliver it. You put your corkscrew and you pull it out. Now you have this hole that you can see, just like what Vijay Bose showed us this morning. What he used was he put multiple pins here, here, here. But I think, if you are reasonably careful, you can just put a retractor, an anterior column spike, and with adequate exposure, you make sure that you get the acetabulum visualized. And there we have it. There we have the acetabulum. I think there's no doubt. The acetabulum is a vinegar cup. That's what an acetabulum is. That's how it got the name acetabulum. It is not due to anything else but a vinegar cup. So this vinegar cup now, you ream, like you saw in the morning, you ream. And you had a protruser, remember? You had a protruser, that's a problem. So, you don't want to put your acetabulum way inside. You don't want to put your new acetabulum way inside. And so people have talked about impaction, grafting, etc. this morning. This is what you do. You take your head, you use your acetabular reamer on it, you get that mush, morcellated mush, and do a femoral preparation, standardized femoral preparation really. There you have, you impacted the graft, the acetabulum, these are the multi-hole cups. I found that I had a good peripheral ream fit. So, it was stable, so I used less screws. Bone graft is there. Center of head we sort of managed with reference to the greater trochanter. Looks lengthened, of the hip is really short, but I think the patient did reasonably well. And I was asking Vijay this morning whether he uses non-collared all the time. In this kind of case, I would use a non-collar, but otherwise I always like to use a collar in the Coral system, which I use a lot. And it sort of seems to work. And here you have the post-op. Let's see if it works. If it doesn't, it really doesn't matter. Playing video, not to worry, but the patient is walking. Same patient is walking, and I think this was one way of doing it. Now, having done this, what is the take-home message? Well, I think the take-home message is here. Adductive tenotomy, if there is an adductive contraction. So that's what really prevents you from bringing it down. How do you do that adductive tenotomy? Well, high up. Use a 15 number blade and you have a very tiny cut. It doesn't bleed. It used to bleed when I was a student, so that's the way I was taught to do it. But I think this is a much better way. Dislocation may lead to a fracture, so like Professor Zartner said here, cut in situ the neck, osteotomy, avoid over-reaming of the medial walls, etc. so that the columns are not affected. Bone grafting medial or lateralize the cup, stability, bone ingrowth, and consider procedure cases in rings that was talked about earlier. Since I'm but otherwise, this is what he told us. So you've learned all this. So let's see this case, next case. Ta-dan, ta-dan. Cawnpore case.
So just a question,
Yeah,
can
sure.
you put slices of neck, head, rather than putting a mushy graft in the base?
Of course you can. But then if you have only flakes of bone, and you try to impact it, doesn't impact as well. So what you do is you take a little bit of flakes, you lose a little bit of mush, but the mush should not be mush.
Yeah.
You take the mush, you squeeze it out in a gauze piece, so that all the fat etc. comes off, and then you
Otherwise, the mush would actually escape out.
That's right. So you need to have a little bit of strength to it. So I want the next slide. Next presentation. I'm going through so much muscle. So I want the next.
How, in a case where there is a flexion adduction contraction, adduction contractions with a rheumatoid, would you also do a iliopsoas elevation sometimes?
Of course we will.
Yeah.
Of course we will. Maybe we have a case. You know, if you take VOS, and in Gadre Saab's time, VOS was a procedure that was done. Hanging hip for osteoarthritis. You cut everything and the patient would move. I think I might have a case. So of course you do. You have to get all the contractions out. About associated soft tissue contractions, ऊपर साहब इसकी बात कर रहे थे. Methods to augment deficit acetabulum, Dr. Ubra was talking about. Prosthesis selection and post-op rehabilitation. So, here we have yet another lady. Now, she's managed this for 18 years till it became painful. Why did it become painful? Can you see this in the pedestrian? So for 18 years she's managed happily. So that means it's totally contracted. It is totally produced. I mean, there is no doubt about that. She had chronic pain but was able to manage. Sudden onset of acute pain, because that's when the fracture happened. And, well, she says no trauma, but that's okay. When the lady was so thin and frail, any kind of thing could have caused this kind of trauma. So what do? We fix the fracture, gentlemen? You know, fracture wala, right? We fix the fracture. And we make it back to what it was. Why not? It's easier to do than thinking of doing a hip replacement.
What do you write?
Again,
It won't unite.
it won't unite. Yeah, that's possibly the problem because it's rubbish bone here. It's all sclerosed. The reason it's fractured is that it's a stress fracture. It's not going to unite. So what do we do now, Dr. Obra? ये Artemis तक पहुंच गई. अब वहाँ पर क्या करवाओगे इसका?
You have already told a couple of tricks which we would use in this case as well. My just contention is, would you in such cases, sir, and my question, sir, would you actually take the head out, or you just would ream it and just put a cup onto it?
If you do that, now this is a gap here.
Yeah.
So this will be a floating sequester.
Okay.
That's not such a great idea. If it was all stuck as with an ankylosing type thing, then yes, of course, you would have continuity here. Then you would have to, if you wanted to do that, then you probably have to put a cage here to get that stability and so on.
So in this case, it apparently seems he has got the patient has some kind of flexion and adduction kind of.
Yeah.
So would you again go posteriorly, sir?
Yes, exactly. So good. I'm so glad. So these are the problems this one has. So this is eye riding, right? You have obviously arthritic also. We agree. It's a rheumatoid plus also degeneration. Grade 3 protrusio. I mean, tick, it's on in. Plus there's this neck fracture and there's osteoporotic bone. I mean, what? This is rubbish case here. Right. Anyone suggest what we should be doing? Okay, we're going to do it totally. I mean, this is a hip course, right? This is an arthroplasty course. So this is the head extraction, which I've already alluded to earlier, through a fish-mouthed acetabulum, identifying the true acetabulum flow. You saw this with Vijay Bose in the morning. Yeah, we talked about the pulvinar. You avoid the medial blowout. I mean, then you are sending this, getting Professor Sen to come by emergency ambulance over the next 3 hours. Avoid that, lateralize the acetabulum. So you want to lateralize, you don't want to put your acetabulum in. We talked about in the last case, adequate femoral length, reducing the hip joint after replacement, that itself is a problem.
And one more, maybe getting the option.